At first glance, Enya appears to have perfected the art of doing absolutely nothing. Like many Chow Chows, she could easily be mistaken for being lazy. Let's see if you still think that in 4 minutes' time. Miku is busy discovering the world, and Kiru is enthusiastically investigating absolutely everything. Mike is quietly supervising events in the way only Mike can. And Enya appears to be doing very little. Or is she? For the next few minutes, don't just watch the dogs. Watch what they watch. Chow Chows are often described as difficult to read. Many ancient breeds are, not because they communicate less, but because they often communicate more quietly. The signals are there, you simply have to learn where to look. If Enya had a hobby, it would probably be keeping an eye on everyone else's business. Here's the interesting part. Nobody has asked Enya to supervise the garden, and yet the others seem surprisingly aware of where she is. Watch this interaction, not for what happens, for what doesn't. The game drifts towards Enya, and Kiru notices. The game continues. Enya stays exactly where she is. Nothing to see here, which is rather the point. Good communication isn't measured by how often someone intervenes. Sometimes it's measured by how rarely they need to. Now watch this one. It lasts only a few seconds. Watch it once, then we'll watch it again. Now, watch Enya, not Mike. Did you notice what changed? Mike did. He's spent his entire life learning Enya's language. Experience has taught him that life is generally much easier if one listens the first time. Both dogs settle nearby. No fuss, no misunderstanding. The conversation is already over. A little later, they do it again. A glance. A quiet acknowledgement. Then, life carries on. It's hardly the sort of interaction that attracts attention. Perhaps that's exactly why it's worth paying attention to. By now, that apparently lazy Chow Chow from the beginning may not be looking quite so lazy after all. One of the easiest mistakes to make with quiet dogs is assuming that if very little is happening, then very little is being communicated. Sometimes the opposite is true. Watch this again, not the play, watch Enya. She doesn't interrupt, she doesn't join in. She simply watches. And somehow, the game stays comfortably within her boundaries. Then something changes. Not much, just enough. Nkiru briefly acknowledges Enya and carries on. No correction, no fuss, just a conversation so quiet, most people would never realize it happened. Miku, on the other hand, still had quite a lot to learn. Watch this interaction. Just watch the conversation. Did you notice what changed? The important part isn't that Enya said enough. It's that a few moments later, she no longer needed to. The conversation had finished. Miku accepted the answer, and life simply carried on. Stable adult dogs often seem remarkably good at this. They don't keep repeating themselves once they've been understood. A little later, watch the same two dogs again. The conversation feels different now, not because Enya has changed, because Miku has. She lingers a little longer. She understands a little more. Relationships don't usually change all at once. They change one conversation at a time. Here's another easy one to miss. A tiny interaction. Then, both dogs continue with their day. No audience, no celebration, just another successful conversation. This one lasts a little longer. Just watch the conversation. Miku would very much like Enya to join in. Enya has other ideas. So Miku tries again. And again. Every now and then she pushes her luck. She's a puppy after all. Enya makes her feelings perfectly clear. Miku thinks about it. Changes her approach. Then, eventually, accepts the answer. Enya walks away. Conversation over. Something rather important is happening here. Not because Enya is teaching tricks or because Miku is becoming obedient. They're learning how to communicate with one another. And every successful conversation makes the next one a little easier. By now, Miku is beginning to understand something rather important. Nothing changed overnight. Relationships don't usually change all at once. They're built, one quiet conversation at a time. Watch this one. Just watch the conversation. Miku still wants to be close. She still asks the occasional question. But she's no longer asking in quite the same way. She's beginning to understand what Enya is comfortable with and what she isn't. Enya speaks just as quietly to people. Watch this. There's nothing wrong with the food. She simply has a different opinion. She takes a step back. She makes her decision perfectly clear. No fuss, no argument. Just a very polite, no thank you. The same quiet honesty she uses with the other dogs, she uses with us, if we're paying attention. Of course, sometimes Enya's opinion is rather different, especially if someone happens to be preparing something she'd quite like to sample. Her preferred strategy? Patient observation. Intense observation. Remarkably intense observation. Apparently, staring is always worth one more attempt. Even keeping watch over the garden. Enya rarely feels the need to make a great announcement. A quiet huff. A look. Usually, that's enough. Not every message needs to be shouted. And then, this happened. Watch Enya this time, not Miku. Did you notice what changed? For the first time, Enya makes the first move. After weeks of quietly teaching boundaries, she's now inviting interaction. Not because she's become a different dog, because the relationship has become a different relationship. Miku still plays like a puppy. Enya still plays like Enya. Neither has changed who they are. They've simply learned one another a little better. Perhaps that Chow doing apparently nothing was doing rather more than we realized. One breed, 4 personalities, 4 different ways of seeing the world, and every single day, still learning from one another. Chow Chows are often described as lazy, difficult to read, even unpredictable. Perhaps they simply ask us to watch a little differently. The signals were there all along. We simply had to learn where to look.